Following video is brought to you by the Boston Sports Entertainment Network. Please consider liking, following. Following video is brought to you by the Boston Sports Entertainment Network. Please consider liking and subscribing for more Boston sports content.
The red, white, and blue. I can't lose with the red, white, and blue. My whole crew is the red, white, and blue. I represent the stars and stripes. I am a patriot, a true American. I am a champion, yes, and that's on everything. I will protect my home. I will defend, fighting tooth and nail to the bitter end. I don't play to lose, nah, I play to win. Rain, sleet, or snow in the wingland. What? Let me say it again. I play to win. What it is tradition. I'm in the game, playing like Brady. 10 soldiers deep in the field, no Navy. Riding for my soldiers and they riding for me. No matter where I touch down, it's a TD. 2 hands up, yep. Field goal.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Pats Nation Nightly on the Boston Sports Entertainment Network. My name is Zach Ventola, as always, joined by Ben Belford-Peltzman. And we also have a special guest today from the Panthers beat, the one and only Sheena Quick. How are you both doing today?
I didn't even notice that he was in the screen, but we are great.
I am fantastic. As you guys all know, Patriots football returns this Thursday at 7 p.m. It is the lone NFL game this Thursday against the Panthers. So we thought, what better to do than bring Panthers ESPN Nation reporter Sheena Quick to kind of preview the game. So first off, Sheena, could you please give us kind of an introduction to who you are, how long you've been covering the Panthers for, and sort of that sort of thing for our viewers?
So, as you said, my name is Sheena Quick. I'm actually in my 9th season covering the Panthers. I also have a Panthers podcast called Quick Blitz that we do during the season. So that hasn't ramped up just yet. And you can find me on Twitter talking about absolutely everything Carolina Panthers related.
Fantastic. And we'll kind of just start off right now. It's interesting to see how the Patriots have been developing Drake May and the quarterbacks, but Zach and I have a kind of easier time reporting on it because we're at the practices and we're watching it firsthand. What is your take on an outside perspective on what's occurring with the Patriots, specifically Drake May?
I think that Tom Brady has been gone for a couple of years, but he's always going to have these huge shoes to fill. And I think that kind of just tinkering and toying with a couple of different quarterbacks before you get your franchise quarterback is kind of the state that the franchise has been in. But you have Mayo with his first season taking over, and then with Drake May, I think it's great that the two of them are coming in together. So it's ushering in a new era completely. No one has to really unlearn a lot of things. So I think that that's good to have your new head coach be able to pick his own quarterback.
Do you see any sort of translation or similarities in this current Patriots team, maybe the younger core or whatever it may be with that, and the team that you're covering, the Carolina Panthers?
Well, both of these franchises, both of these teams are coming off of, less than desirable results last season. And both have, first-time head coaches. And dare I say, this could kind of be looked at as Bryce Young's rookie year also. Everybody, again, wants to put last season as far in the rear view as they can. And you didn't really get a chance to really assess Bryce the way that you would have liked to, because everything else that was going on with the offensive line and the offensive coaching staff kind of being in shambles. And so I do think that this year's team for the Patriots and this season's team for the Panthers, they're trying to put their stamp and their identity on the franchise. So I think that everything fresh, everything new is kind of the mantra for both of those squads, and that there are some similarities in that regard.
Now, the Panthers kind of look different than they were last season. They ended 2-15 last season. This offseason, of course, they trade Brian Burns over to the Giants, and you get some receiver help. You get Deontay Johnson, and then they draft Xavier Legette. Do you think the Panthers now have a chance to compete for an NFC South division title? And what is this season going to look like under Coach Dave for the first time?
I think that because of the state of the division, they absolutely should be able to compete within the NFC South. I mean, when it comes down to it, we're not talking about a team that's leaps and bounds above everyone else. For a while, it was the Saints. Tom Brady came, it was the Bucks. This year, it's anybody's division to win, and so I do think that it's a bounce ball this way. It's a toe tap on the sideline away. It's a doinked or made field goal away from it being anybody's division. You saw the Panthers start the season out 1-5. A couple seasons ago, and then all of a sudden they were in the mix. They were, a penalty away from putting themselves in the lead for the NFC South and possibly going into the postseason. So when it's that degree of just even keel across the board, I do think that it's anyone's division to win. And why not the Panthers? I don't think that this team is going to just completely do a flip and be 15-2. Are they able to maybe win 6, 7 games, 7, 8 games, 8, 9 games? It's all going to come down to the ball bouncing their way and just sheer luck in preparation meeting luck in some of those games.
So I know it's still very early on. Training camp still in the middle of it. We're about to go into the first preseason game. But this upcoming Thursday, what would you want to see out of the Panthers to say they really might have a shot at this division title?
Well, it'll be interesting because Bryce Young will not play.
Mm-hmm.
Xavier Leggett will not play. And we don't know. The Panthers head coach Dave Canales said that they were going to determine tonight how they were going to use their starters. So I don't know that it will be a good reflection. Jack Plummer is probably going to be taking most of the snaps. Luton just got there like yesterday, maybe the day before. So he's not, completely up to speed. So we'll mostly see Jack Plummer throughout the game. And so when it comes to assessing the new pieces or how much Deontay Johnson will play, how much that starting offensive line will play together, how many snaps Austin Corbett takes at center, we don't know those things yet. So without getting a healthy dose of the starters and of the first team, I don't think that we can really tell how this season will go just from Thursday night.
Now, a quick fact to note is since 2000, the Patriots have a winning record, I should say, against every single team except the Panthers and the Seahawks. Now, for them to be able to achieve a win this Thursday, what are they going to have to stop on the Panthers side, or what are they going to have to do offensively for them to come away with a preseason victory?
Well, defensively for the Patriots to break that streak, they're going to have to contend with the Panthers' run game. They have committed to, establishing the run game. Chuba Hubbard is coming off of a solid season last season. Don't know how much he'll play Thursday, but he is coming off of a solid season. Miles Sanders has looked great. Raheem Blackshear has always been solid. It depends on what starting offensive line we see take the majority of the snaps. They added Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis in the offseason, shifted Austin Corbett to center, and they have Taylor Moton and Ike Ekwonu at the right and left tackles, respectively. So I think that they'll have to stop the run game because that's what all eyes will be on, especially with Bryce Young not playing. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, pass rush has been a concern just because of how thin the Panthers are at edge. But again, we don't know how much we'll see of the first team on Thursday to be able to assess what the Patriots might be able to attack.
So I know it is a new coaching staff for the Panthers, but years, what has been kind of the mindset for player personnel in the first preseason game?
As far as what they're hoping to see,
as far as like who's playing, I guess who's getting in, what do they want to see, things of that nature.
Well, Canales said that they will be making those determinations tonight as far as like who plays and how many snaps and things like that. A lot of people were shocked that Bryce Young isn't playing. I was a little bit shocked, just because again, this is a fairly new offensive line construction, and so they need to kind of get some cohesiveness in gel. But apparently, they're looking to the second and third preseason games, or if Bryce Young will play at all this preseason. So we don't know what their plans are yet. They have not shared those with us. They did release an unofficial depth chart, but of course that's very fluid, very, very early. No real surprises out there as far as first and second team. So it just depends on how much they want to see their starters, and of course weighing the risk of injury or something like that in a preseason game. And I apologize for my voice, guys. I've been yelling throughout the Olympics, so I've been sounding very, very hoarse.
Oh, good. What have you been watching in the Olympics?
Oh, track and field for sure. Track and field.
Gotcha. So it's interesting to note here that the Patriots have 4 coaches on their current coaching staff who had experience in Carolina. Just reading off the list right here, we have senior offensive assistant Ben McAdoo, who has been instrumental in helping the rookie quarterbacks, especially Drake May. He was with them in 2022. We have assistant OL coach Robert Kruger in 2002 to 2023. We have Taekwon Underwood, the Patriots wide receiver coach in 2014. And we have offensive line coach Scott Peters from 2005 to 2006. Out of those 4 coaches, had one of them had maybe a bigger impact than others in Carolina? And do you have any memories of either press conferences or anything like that on any of those coaches?
Um, I will say this. I will say that nobody sticks out a whole lot. Ben McAdoo is the one who most recently jogs my memory. Of course, he was just here 2 seasons ago, and I attribute that to there just being like a revolving door the last couple of years. So you can't really. Everybody's kind of CYA as the season starts to go downhill. The Panthers haven't won more than 5 games outside of that year that Steve Wilkes became the interim. So I wouldn't say that there's anyone that's been super memorable, and not in a bad way. It's just that there was so much other stuff going on that it easily overshadows anybody like standing out unless they did just a phenomenally bad job.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to a question in the chat from Ken, asking it on Twitter. What adjustments have you noticed from the Panthers from last season, throughout the offseason until camp, and now in this year's preseason? And then we'll jump to that second part afterwards.
The biggest difference is, like I said, the commitment to the run. Offensive line, especially during Cam Newton's years, has always been looked at as like the weak link, whether it was because of scheme or whether it was because of injury. And they seem to kind of be on the upward trajectory the second half of that 2022 season, of course, when Steve Wilkes was the interim head coach. But the difference was Steve Wilkes took what he had and made it work. He played to the strengths of his team. We did not see that last year. They took the promise from the offensive line the second half of that last season and erroneously thought that it would just translate into just dropping a quarterback into last year's team. And maybe it would have worked, but there was no commitment to the run. Frank Reich, they didn't have an offensive identity the whole time he was here. His thing was, we're not going to be a smash mouth team, but that's what your offensive line was built for. So everyone wondered why they regressed so poorly. It was because they were trying to employ a scheme they simply didn't have the personnel for. So I would say the adjustments that I've noticed, they got some reinforcements with Rob Hunt and with Damian Lewis. And of course, like I said, Austin Corbett is moving to center after Bradley Bozeman was gone after free agency. But I would say the commitment to the run is going to be, it has been the biggest adjustment that I have noticed. Of course, they revamped that wide receiver core. The Panthers wide receiver core was amongst the worst in the league when it came to separation. And they're trying to rectify that with Deontay Johnson and with the drafting of Xavier Leggett, both who have looked really, really good in practice. Jonathan Mingo has taken a big leap. I know a lot of people talk about how terrible they felt Bryce Young's rookie season was, mainly because of all these other things that were going on, the lack of protection, the lack of, open receivers and things like that. And Jonathan Mingo gets a bad rap, but people forget that he was just a rookie also. So I've seen him make a lot of big strides in the offseason. He's looked great in camp. He worked with Steve Smith. So the biggest adjustments I would say would be on the offensive side of the ball, committing to the run, protecting Bryce Young, and getting some receivers that can make plays.
I know that you had already said they haven't quite decided as of right now who will play and who will not play on Thursday, other than Bryce Young. But do you anticipate Mingo playing? And if so, would you expect him to have a big night?
If he does play, I would expect no more than maybe 2 series or so.
Mm. And then now we'll jump back to the second part of Ken's question. What are the keys for the Patriots to contain the Panthers offense on Thursday? And again, it is a preseason game, so might just be a shell of the Panthers offense, but still, what do you think are the keys there?
It's going to be in the trenches. They have to disrupt the offensive line. That offensive line is newly playing together. And they're trying to establish some cohesiveness. You have to disrupt that. Everything starts up front.
Now,
Absolutely.
for the people watching, we will answer all of your questions if you submit them in the next few minutes. So please, if you have any questions for us or Sheena, please let us know. We'll kind of transition a little bit to an outlook on the regular season for the Panthers first. What are you kind of expecting, but also what are your expectations for the Panthers coming off an NFL worst 2-15 record?
Expect them to win more than 2 games. That's number one. I do expect them to win more than 2 games. I expect a return to tough nose smash mouth football. Establish the run and make teams respect the run, and everything else opens up for you. I expect a return to production from the tight end. Canales does employ a lot of opportunity for pass catching tight ends, and we haven't really seen that in Carolina since Greg Olsen. Jatavion Sanders brings that skill set, so I expect to see them open up the playbook with regards to that. Um, Defensively, they were the bright light last year on the team. They finished, one of the top defenses in the league. Dave Brown had a NFL record in tackles. But there are 5 starters that are missing from that squad. So my expectation is that the newcomers are gonna have to step up, and we get to see just how good of a defensive coordinator EJ Evero is. What will he do? Like he's brought in some players that have played in his scheme before. Frankie Louvu's gone. He was a dog. Brian Burns is gone. YGM, Yetur Gross-Matos gone. Von Bell, Dante Jackson is gone. So it'll be interesting to see how he replaces those guys and just how good Josie Jewell is, who played in his scheme that he's brought over. He's brought over guys that have played in that scheme. And so they kind of have an advantage versus the guys last year that had to kind of switch to a 3-4 after playing a 4-3 their careers in Carolina.
How would you expect the Panthers to specifically address the hole left by Brian Burns?
That's what's interesting. I mean, and here's the funny part about that. As fans, I know that you don't want to see your team overspend, but sometimes they have to. A lot of people, at first they were clamoring for Brian Burns to be paid. He didn't hold out of training camp, waiting for the new contract, all this, that, and the third. But then as time went on, they're like, oh, well, just trade him, just trade him, just trade him, thinking that the Panthers had already turned down 2 first rounders a couple of years ago and made that fact public. They turned down the 2 first rounders from the Rams and ended up getting, considerably less from that when they finally traded him to the Giants. And a lot of people were looking at, he only had 8.5 sacks. That's 8.5 sacks that you have to replace. But on the other side of Brian Burns was Yetur Gross-Matos. So you lose both of your starting defensive ends. And I don't think a lot of people really took into account how all those different units play complementary football. Because if you don't have a pass rush, your secondary is covering forever and a day. And the way that the NFL, the rules are as far as like offensive players, they're in the favor of offensive players. You can't put your secondary in a position like that because the quarterback has all day to throw. So they did say, so everyone's been looking at that other edge opposite of Jadeveon Clowney, and it looks like it's going to be DJ Johnson. Both Canales and Jadeveon Clowney both gave him glowing reports of praise. Clowney called him one of the best edge setters on the team. And so they're looking for him to make a big jump in his second year also to be able to at least soften the blow of the loss of Brian Burns on that edge.
How has the team looked in training camp specifically? Bryce Young been making that jump that so many people have kind of been writing, talking about that he will make. How have they looked?
I think that the offense still needs some time to gel. So the defense has been getting the better of them early on in training camp. But I do think that Bryce, it's always been in him, is going to be, getting the ball out quicker. I know that that's one of his focuses. Bryce Young, I think it's going to be just fine. I think he will make that anticipated jump. I mean, he's a Heisman Trophy winner for a reason. He was drafted number one for a reason. He's one of the best quarterbacks in Alabama history for a reason, and that's not one that's not a small feat. Thinking about the talent that has gone through that program, but I do expect him to do considerably better because he has better weapons and he should have better protection as this season goes on. His footwork looks great. Mechanics look great. They're aiming to get that ball out in 2.7, and the closer they are to that, the more efficient that offense is going to be.
Awesome. We're going to jump right back to the chat. Again, if anyone has any questions, can put them in there. Going to go with the Patriots question. Who will be the starting quarterback? Because this one's quick enough. Heard Mahomes may play a celebrity series. I wish. But anyways, it's going to be Jacoby Brissett more than likely. Drake May has not looked ready, which he was drafted to be a developmental quarterback. It makes sense, but Jacoby Brissett has been the best quarterback at Patriots training camp so far.
Yeah, and if I can answer that really fast, Juwan Mayo said that all the quarterbacks will get a turn on Thursday, including Drake May, Joe Milton, Bailey Zappi, and veteran Jacoby Brissett. How I would imagine it on Thursday is Jacoby Brissett start, get maybe one or two series at most. It's going to be a Drake May game. He's going to play for a majority of the game. This is his first NFL snaps. And although, like you just said, it's probably going to be Jacoby Brissett in week one, you have to get Drake May acclimated. He was one of the least experienced college quarterbacks. And the Patriots took a gamble on him, right? He has a really high ceiling, but he also has a low floor. And you need your number 3 overall pick to hit. That is a pick that you cannot you can't even deserve to miss on. So Drake May has to be ready. So it is going to be a Drake May game on Thursday. And it should be Jacoby Brissett week 1.
There we go. Sheena, I'm going to bring up another question for you. I'll say one on offense, one on defense. Who do you think on the Panthers, current backup will kind of shock everybody either this upcoming week on Thursday or over these next couple of weeks afterwards? Do you have one kind of surprise pick for Patriots and Panthers fans to watch out for?
A surprise? I'm gonna go Amir Smith Marset for the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
He flashed in the return game. We know he can do it as a returner, but he's been adamant this offseason to showcase his talents at wide receiver. And it's already like a kind of a crowded wide receiver room. But I like Amir Smith Marset or Terrace Marshall Jr. I think the surprise will come in the wide receiver group there. On the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go DiCaprio.
Got it.
I'm going to go DiCaprio Bootle, cornerback.
So there's someone for Drake May to keep his eye out for. Don't throw it that way. Very interesting stuff. Thank you.
Now, Zach and I would be foolish not to mention the news that has been kind of circulating that NFL would in the last day, in the last 24 hours. 49ers current wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk. It took 23 minutes for us to mention his name for the first time, and that was for a reason. But, Sheena, looking on the outside, on that outside perspective, how much would a wide receiver like Brandon Ayuk help the Patriots and Drake May? And if you were in the Patriots' shoes, would you make him a top 5 highest paid wide receiver?
If I were the Patriots, what? It said that you cut out a little bit for a second.
Sorry, if you were in their shoes.
Would you make him a top 5 paid receiver?
I think so. You got a rookie quarterback.
Again, as a number 3 pick, the expectations are lofty. The expectations are really, really high. Oops. The expectations are really high, and I think that having an experienced receiver only helps.
Hmm.
When you think about what Adam Thielen did coming to Carolina, he didn't come to Carolina to be a wide receiver one. He thought DJ Chark was going to be a wide receiver one, but he became a reliable set of hands for Bryce Young. So when he was throwing in that direction, he knew that no matter how much Adam got bumped off the route, Adam was going to be where he needed to be. And I think that when you can give your quarterback that type of security blanket, I think that it pays dividends in the future. Yeah, you might make Brandon Ayuk, one of the highest paid wide receivers, but at the same time, you're going to get that value back two and threefold with your rookie quarterback as he continues to grow and develop and be of service to your franchise.
Do you think in any way that it might be too early even to do that? And I'm not saying it is, but just bringing up the question because we still don't know if Drake May is that guy. So do you think it is still worth it to pay him that much and invest a draft pick via trade for him, and then with the risk of Drake May not turning out so hot?
Yes, you have to. You have to take that chance. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you could be looking at a situation like a Sam Darnold, who also went number three,
Hmm.
and how things went for him out there with the Jets. You could be. I think that these next two seasons are very, very instrumental in who Drake May is going to be, and giving him a sure set of hands. Again, like I said, it's going to pay dividends, but I absolutely do think it's worth it. If you can make a play for Ayuk, I think you do it.
Yeah.
If the Panthers could make a play for Ayuk, I'd tell them to do it.
Now, what would a return package look like if you were the Patriots? Not worrying about what they would pay Ayuk, but what they would give San Francisco to get Ayuk.
I haven't paid attention to what their offer was or what the reported offer was. Do you guys have like reported compensation?
Yeah, it was gonna be Kendrick Bourne and a second round pick for Brandon Ayuk.
Which important to note that second round pick will probably be top
Pretty high.
30. Yeah, top
Yeah,
38.
Kind of like a late first, basically.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think you do it.
I
I
What?
think you
agree.
do it. You're setting a new culture. It's a new
Yeah.
head coach. Yeah, I mean, you do it. It's
Yep.
time for the next page. And you want to, I mean, the people of New England, like you guys have tasted success. So your bar is set higher than a lot of other people's or a lot of other teams' bar. So of course last year was a super disappointing season. Season before that, super disappointing season. But if you want to shift the culture and usher in a new era, I think you absolutely do it.
Yeah.
So wrapping up this show here, you have predictions for Thursday night and a score prediction. And Sheena, since you're our guest, you can go first.
I'm gonna go 17-13 Carolina Panthers.
Zach.
Ooh. Man, I was thinking a similar score, but going the Patriots way, just because I think they're going to play more star power. Gerard Mayo said this morning that anybody who's healthy will play. And with the Panthers not playing Bryce Young, I don't know that they'll be playing many of their starters. So I'm going to go 20-13 Patriots.
I am going to go 2014 Patriots as well, just because we haven't seen any of these teams in months. You have stuff to look forward to on both sides of the ball. How will young offensive line on the Patriots side mixed with a young quarterback, either Joe Milton, Bailey Zappi, or Drake May? So 2014. And with that, that is going to conclude our first preview episode of the year of the season. It's pretty exciting. Football is right around the corner. Sheena Quick, thank you so much. Tell everyone who is watching where they could find you.
I'm on Twitter at Sheena_Marie3. And I'm on there talking about football all day, guys, from sun up to sundown. Anything you guys want to talk about, anything you tweet at me, I love the game, so I'm probably gonna engage in conversation.
And Zach, where can they find us for updates, predictions, all that stuff? Where can they find us?
Well, don't have the banner anymore because this is a different account. so I can't
Yep.
put it up. But Pats Nation Night on Twitter, Pats Nation Nightly on Instagram and YouTube. You can find it there. And then my personal account, Any Patriots Today on Twitter, Pats Today on Instagram. Ben, you're the Patriots beat everywhere, correct?
PatriotsBeat.com, Patriots Beat on Twitter, Patriots Beat on Instagram.
Yep. So thank you all so much for listening. We hope you got a good preview of this upcoming preseason game against the Carolina Panthers. Thank you all and good night.